What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and in this video we are going to be taking a look at Trophy Hunter. This is the last post-commentary game that I am going to feature on the previous patch, but again, just like the other two games that I showcased, I believe this one still has a lot of merit on the new patch. Trophy Hunter really has not changed too much. What is around him has potentially changed, and maybe there's some other more powerful or less powerful strategies, but Trophy Hunter is still pretty straightforward in terms of what he is trying to do, at least for now. So we are going to wind up starting with a Humpty Dumpty, and then we do see we're up against Sadrak next, so somewhat tempted to just go all in on this Humpty Dumpty to totally deny Sadrak's slays, but I do think it's probably a little bit stronger to just go like Sherwood Sure Shot and then Sugar and Spice that, and this gives us a pretty strong board. I could still frontline the Humpty, but I'm just going to hope that it gets attacked into, and then Sherwood Sure Shot gets our first attack, and that's going to be the strongest combat that we can put together. And it's only turn 2. And yeah, this Sadrak has not put anything together yet. I guess it could have been an indicator. The fact that they had lost their first combat meant that we were probably in a pretty safe spot there. Here, I'll take the golden chicken, and then honestly, I might take the baby root. Could also just take crafty or take the billy goat. I think there's a lot of different options here for what you want to do, but I go for the crafty. Honestly, they're all pretty equivalent and not going to be too big of a deal. Luckily, though, we get to escape this combat with our egg, which is a pretty big deal. It means that we get to continue to be strong and continue to be a 40 health trophy hunter on 3.0, which is nice. I do kind of like the Lucky as Trophy Hunter more so than I like the Vampire. Vampires are just awkward. I like that there's a pair, but it's a scaling unit, and eventually we're going to have to cut that. So I just want to cut it now and not even worry about the fact that we'd be putting some gold into something that's going to be a little bit awkward for us in the future. And we'll just take the Lucky, which actually does have a last breath, so it does have a slay and could potentially allow us to gain some nice econ here to start things off if it is able to get the slay. I guess we're 50-50 to slay, though, and we miss. And we're also going to get our egg cracked, but not a huge deal. Down to 35 health, and still kicking, still doing well. We get to pick up another last breath unit here, though, in the Wretched Mummy. That is really, really good for Trophy Hunter, and generally how I want to build. That is my preferred build path, and then I'm going to roll and try to potentially find some crafties so that we can grab a tier 2 treasure. Don't find a crafty, but I do find a Shadow Assassin, which is kind of nice. I'd probably put it in this last position because I kind of want some of my other dwarves to slay, or some of my last breath units to slay, but maybe this is better to just frontline the Lucky, and that way Stag is pumping up a ranged unit. Gives us a little bit of a stronger board for this turn. Some things can definitely go wrong. My opponent can like attack into the Stag, and then my other stuff can fail to slay too. But we also have 2 ranged units, and a lot can go right for us as well. So we'll see how this one shakes out. Pollywoggle is going to get the slay, but Stag is going to get the attack, so that is pretty huge. Lucky goes down, and then Mummy gets a slay. So that's pretty nice and is going to give us some scaling and give us a pretty decisive victory there too. And now we are just, well, I mean, I'm going to take a cheap Lucky. That one is pretty straightforward. I guess I kind of do want a Sherwood Sure Shot as well. The tier 2 treasures are so good on Trophy Hunter. Could take this Frog Prince, but then we're kind of done for the turn. I'd rather try to roll and potentially grab a tier 2 treasure. Mad Mim also has some play to it as well, but there's just a lot of strength if we were able to find a tier 2 treasure this turn. Not quite able to get there, but we've got a few pairs that we are working with for the next one. And these luckies can still potentially slay, but more importantly, they can also give us econ on 4.0, and that is when Trophy Hunter really gets kicking off and gets to try to do some fun stuff. Another player going to Pollywoggle Slay against us, but I think that is going to be all they're able to do. We get a Lucky Slay, but unfortunately Shadow Assassin is gone, and then we will also get a Mummy Slay to finish off the combat and take out our opponent's daggers as well. So we have 3 lucky triggers on this board, and they land perfectly onto units that I already want to pick up: Friendly Spirit and a Grim Soul. So pretty good stuff for us. Just debating like how I want to order this board. We'll figure it out in a second. Let's see what other things we're going to pick up for this combat. Slightly tempted to Shard the Stag, potentially find another Shadow Assassin, but I wind up rolling and find another Friendly Spirit. So this is kind of an awkward one to figure out because we've got so many pairs. Don't want to break up the Crafties, don't really want to break up the Sherwood Sure Shots, don't want to break up the Luckies either, but I have to break up something or sell the Stag. I decide to break up the Crafties though and play these Friendly Spirits, and I think that's the right call, but let me know what you would do. I think just playing the Stag for this turn lets us be stronger, and that is going to be important. So we wind up getting some Friendly Spirit stats onto the Mummy, and then Friendly Spirit stats onto the Shadow Assassin. And like I said, that's just going to make us stronger. Now the Mummy gets to attack and slay and deal some nice damage with the Mummy missiles. Unfortunately, we do still lose this combat, but we only take 5 damage. And again, as a Trophy Hunter, that is not the worst place to be. Now we'll sell the other Crafty, pick up another Grim Soul, and we find another Grim Soul and a Friendly Spirit here. So we are definitely popping off now. I will take the Grim Soul triple first, and we can see our options are Fool's Gold, Reduplicator, and Sky Castle. I think Fool's Gold on Trophy Hunter can work. We don't really need spells on Trophy Hunter if we just are able to pick up a lot of the necessary units. And right now I'm taking a look, okay, well I could sell 3 things and pick up another Friendly Spirit, triple that, and that is what we are going to go for. Forking Rod, kind of tempting until I realized that I just took Fool's Gold, so not really super interested in the Forking Rod. Maybe we could go Gloves of Thieving, though it's not super useful because we're kind of looking for such specific stuff, but I'll go for it anyways and see what we are able to put together. So kind of an interesting board from this point forward. It doesn't seem like we are too powerful, but we're going to have 14 gold next turn to kind of flesh this out a little bit more. And honestly, we are pretty powerful, especially if this Grim Soul can slay. I think we just win the combat. And even if it can't, we might still be pretty strong. But Grim Soul is super likely to slay and hits the one outer that makes it unable to do so. So pretty unlucky there. And then Mummy Missiles is going to go off. We are going to get the Friendly Spirit onto the Shadow Assassin, which honestly could just be enough in a crazy way. We are going to have a bunch of Court Wizard triggers to battle through, which is a little bit unfortunate though, and that does mean that we are going to lose this one. But we got close there with a huge Shadow Assassin. We did also steal with the Gloves of Thieving a Brave Princess that is on the verge of completion. So that is really sweet. We also get to take another Shadow Assassin and another Grim Soul to round us out for this turn. And all of a sudden, it seems like we have a bunch of stuff now going on. So pretty sweet. And we'll figure out how we can play everything that we want to play. But our board certainly looks a lot more powerful this turn with another Grim Soul, and then we'll be picking up a Tier 3 treasure this turn as well. We will be playing up against a Sadrak. Doesn't look like I decide to change my layout in response to the Sadrak at all, but I could have seen taking the Brave Princess and putting it backline. but I just decided to protect the friendly spirit in the back line there, which I think is ultimately a little bit better for us. So both of our Grimsouls die to start this combat off, and it works out really well for us. The friendly spirit triggers onto the Brave Princess, which allows the Brave to get its slay, and then we just have these huge Shadow Assassins that can clean up and clean up these trees here. So pretty nice combat for us. And we steal something again. Do we steal a Chupacabra? I believe we do. Yeah, we steal a Chupacabra. We also get a tier 3 treasure. So we've got some options to choose between. Well, not really. Only one of these treasures does anything on Trophy Hunter. Treasure map isn't super great, but there's some okay tier 5 and tier 6s for Trophy Hunter to play with. Trophy Hunter just doesn't really love any of the tier 7 treasures other than like Magic Sword, which allows you to slay kind of easily. But we're just going to be rolling trying to find some Baba Yagas. I will have to skip on the Sherwood Sure Shot because I don't want a tier 4 treasure out of this treasure map. That does still kind of seem like a waste. I would have much rather preferred just a tier 2 treasure, which is why the treasure map is a little bit awkward. But I'll roll past that. I mean, there are some okay tier 4 treasures like Horn of Olympus, which works really well with Baba Yaga, but that's not what we're going to get in this one. We are going to find the Baba Yaga, though, which is pretty nice for us. We'll have to figure out exactly how we want to support this board with Baba Yaga. I'm going to go for supporting our 2 Last Breath units, and then I am going to pick up another friendly spirit. So that's kind of the idea. Now we've got a bunch of friendly spirit triggers when our Grimsouls die, and friendly spirit can no longer land on itself, but it can land on other friendly spirits. I think that I just said like a very similar statement to that in a recent stream or a video that you guys watched, but it's because it's true. And we're going to see these friendly spirits here now trigger on each other and then get their own bonuses, and you can just see that those numbers get out of hand really quickly, and we're going to be able to win this combat, and I don't think they're going to take out any more of our units. We're just going to be able to grow our Shadow Assassin a little bit more. So you can see the strength of these friendly spirits and why that is why I decided to just move to friendly spirits. And we're going to get some more slays as well because we are up against Geppetto. So they are just going to kind of poke our friendly spirits, and then we're going to get in there and continue to grow our Shadow Assassin at least. Unfortunately, we don't have a bounty board. That would have been absolutely insane for us and could have potentially just won us the game on the spot. But unfortunately, we had that treasure map, so we weren't able to look for tier 2 treasures. We do steal a lightning dragon from this opponent. Not super exciting, but I'll take it. It's free econ, and we'll see what we can do with that now. Monster Book, also kind of interesting, and I will be taking Monster Book here. It's obviously better for now to just be Baba Yaga-ing these 2 friendly spirits, but maybe we find an upgrade on Monster Book that gives us a tier 6 treasure, and we find something to do with that down the line. For right now, I will be taking this Baba Yaga, though unfortunately I gotta sell out of something, and this doesn't seem like it's going to be a mummy game at this point. We just don't really have the stuff going on for mummy because we don't really have too much of a way to scale it, and the tiny mummy missiles really ain't it. We will be able to pick up a Shadow Assassin next turn, which is pretty good, and then potentially could get, well, actually we're not going to be able to get Bad Moon off of that. We're going to get a tier 5 treasure off of that. So I think that's fine. I don't need a tier 7 treasure. Like I said, there are some really good tier 5 ones. We could get Staff of the Old Toad, Ambrosia, Hand of Midas. All of those are really good. Though I could certainly see wanting to just roll for Baba Yaga because we do already have 2 of them, and then tripling that would give us a tier 7 treasure, could potentially give us Holy Grail, which would obviously be really insane. Friendly Spirit's going to proc onto Friendly Spirit, which is really good. Fortunately, now there are no more, like that's the end of the line, but let's see if a 100 attack ranged unit is still going to be enough to take it down. Plus, we have 2 pretty big Baba Yagas too. It's a ranged battle here at the end, and we are just barely going to come out victorious, but this was a really close one. Opponent with the Spear of Achilles and us putting them down to 2. So we'll go for this tier 5 treasure. We're up against the Ghost, and Ambrosia's fine. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it is going to double a Baba Yaga, so I'm fine picking it up here, and we'll see what we can do with it. But we really want to triple the Baba Yaga, even though we will then not be making use of the Ambrosia slot. I think it would still be good to do. I will go for a triple onto Monster Book at this point, and Horn of Olympus is a really sweet one to pick up. I'll drop the Gloves of Thieving because all that the gloves really do is give us econ, and it's not really exactly what we need. It's just so unlikely because we're looking for such specific units with Trophy Hunter. It just winds up being so unlikely that we wind up using the units that our opponents give us. So I don't really think that that's necessary. And now we've got this horn, so our Baba Yagas are supporting everything in the front row. And don't forget, we even have an upgraded Baba Yaga. So everything is slaying 3 additional times if it can slay. So if we can slay with this Grim Soul, that is going to be a whole bunch of triggers, and honestly, the combat is just already over right now. We are going to hit the Friendly Spirit the first time, then the Friendly Spirit the second time, and now our third trigger is going to go onto Monster Book. So that was the... Oh wait, there's more triggers than that even too. Yeah, because that was an upgraded Grim Soul that, yeah, we get to do a lot here. Like I said, this combat might already be over. We can see Monster Book lining up a big Falling Stars. We see a fireball, a pair of fireballs actually first, but we shrinked everything down to 1 health. And then Blessing of Athena is a really good scaling option with the Monster Book, and that's something that winds up being a lot of fun because it gives us more stats going into the next turn as well as just giving us some stats for this one. So yeah, in general, that winds up being a lot of fun, and yeah, walking away with some more stats. I don't know what Friendly Spirit was when we went into that combat. I can even check. So it's a 16-10 right now, and at the beginning of that combat, it was a 12-6. So we cast 4 blessings and got a little bit of extra stats going into this one. We still have a little bit of extra gold now as well on 4.0, and now I'm thinking Monster Book. I do like the Friendly Spirit angle, but Monster Book, because it also has that built-in scaling, is quite powerful. I am going to roll past that one, though, and pick up a Mummy. The reason that I pick up this Mummy is because I potentially want to still look for Bad Moon by tripling a 3-cost unit, but we'll see what we can do there. Do wind up taking this Storm King, and that is definitely going to push me back in the Monster Book direction, and definitely going to mean that if we can find a Monster Book at this point, that is certainly what I'm looking for. It will scale much more than the Storm King. One of the other interesting things about the Storm King is you don't have to play it to scale it, and that winds up being pretty good. We're still at 24 health, so we've got the cushion to lose a fight. Even against a Miri, we can still lose a fight as long as we don't lose it fully and completely, but we probably won't. Though this is a fully upgraded Miri, we will still be doing okay against them. We are going to be able to cast a bunch of spells. I think there was some lag on the screen there, but there we go. We're going to be able to cast a bunch of spells, and I'm sure we'll find some pigomorphs and lightning bolts and other sweet things like that in the mix. And then we are also going to find some Blessing of Athena's, get a little bit more scaling, and just overall a lot of stuff that isn't fun for our opponent and is a lot of fun for us. And then they attack into Grimsoul, which is like the worst thing that they could have attacked into. So we're just going to get even more slays. And then Monster Book will get to potentially attack and slay again, unless we just kill them before that even happens. But no, we will get a few more spells here to round out the combat. And I'm sure, well, we'll be able to take out those sheep pretty quickly with this Earthquake. But the important thing here is that we are actually scaling right now, because we are scaling that Storm King that was on the bench. I think it was about 100 before the combat, or 138. Okay, well now I got to go back and check that too. So 138, what was the Storm King when we purchased it? Oh, it got bigger. It was in the 70s, and now we got it up to 138. So nicely done. I will pick up a triple for the Baba Yaga. I think we can toss the Fool's Gold at this point in the game, though. None of these are particularly impressive treasures. Mimic is good if we can find Evil Eye, but obviously we're still missing that. I can lose the Ambrosia. Obviously we could have Ambrosia'd the Storm King, but we no longer need to Ambrosia the Baba Yaga, so that does kind of free up a treasure slot and work out okay for us. And then I will sell and pick up this Grimsoul, and I will put in another Monster Book. And the idea here is basically that I just want to cast as many spells as possible and grow this Storm King as much as we can and have that just be okay for us. So Grimsoul is going to get in. This is going to trigger a bunch of spells for us. Actually, it's slightly less spells than it was last combat, both because Grimsoul is unable to slay, and then also because we actually have less Baba Yagas this turn, but we're also playing this huge Storm King, of course, in the combat rather than just allowing it to scale on the bench. But does look like it is still going to be a pretty nice amount of spells for us. We'll just fall a little bit short, but we've got more than enough stats here to take home the win. We just didn't get maybe as much scaling as I would have liked, but things are still pretty good for us. And actually, we are making use of the Mimic Chest. I didn't realize this because we just tossed the Ambrosia, but we still kept the Fool's Gold. So we have 8 extra gold this turn, which is enough to buy this Storm King and otherwise basically be unfazed. So that's pretty sweet. And there is kind of a sweet synergy that we could potentially play to, and that is 9th Book of Merlin off the Storm Kings. That would be really sweet and obviously really insane with Mimic Chest. But here, I'm just going to pick up a Baba Yaga again. We're still at 24 health, so I feel like we can get away with playing another Baba Yaga on this board, which is obviously really strong because we cast a bunch of spells, but it is just a bunch of scaling too. I do briefly put in this Storm King. Oh, okay. I thought I cut it. That's interesting. But I do play the Storm King here as well, and I think that that's totally fine because it is just an insanely large unit. So that's kind of the idea here. Combat gets to start off with us casting a bunch of spells. We do land the Grimsoul on the unupgraded Monster Book, but still that is going to be an insane amount of spells. But crazy to think we could have doubled the amount of spells that we cast this combat. Then this Monster Book is going to get in, and this is a Slay, so we are going to cast a ton more spells yet again. A few more Blessings, a Falling Stars to take out their Shoulder Fairies, and then Storm King gets to get in there for the cleanup. And we hit Merlin for 13 only, leaving them with 2 HP remaining. But then we get to triple the Storm King, which is absolutely insane. Unfortunately, we do not find the 9th Book of Merlin, but just imagine. Imagine if we did, we would have been able to play Storm King as both our last breath unit and our scaling unit, so that could have been absolutely nutso, but I will settle for a Pandora's box. I feel like that could be fun. Maybe we will take a tier 7 treasure this game after all. We find another Storm King and are just feeling overall pretty insanely huge, and this is the combat where I do get a little bit greedy with it, I think, and well, I mean, we did just upgrade this Grim Soul, so we kind of have to play it, but I think I get a little bit greedier than this even so, and I think I cut the... Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. I kind of like this play. It's at least interesting to look at. Like, if you just want to play the monster books in the back row, then they are unlikely to be able to get scammed from your opponent. But we decide to just frontline the monster books, and you know what? We'll see what happens. And what happens is we get to cast a bunch of spells yet again. This Trophy Hunter's doing something interesting where they're not really playing too many units, but we are getting to play some really powerful units and getting to slay with our Grim Soul as well. So we get to cast a bunch more spells, and we are really scaling these Storm Kings as well with all of these spells that we are casting. So what is absolutely crazy about this game is, like, we're doing all this and we aren't really using our treasures. We aren't using Mimic Chest anymore, though we did make good use of it. But Mimic Chest doesn't double Horn. It doesn't double Pandora's box. It could potentially double whatever we get out of the box. And then we aren't using like our 1k Storm Kings or something that we still have on the bench. And we're just casting a whole bunch of spells every combat. So somebody could potentially do the math and tell me what these Storm Kings wind up being, but we're actually not going to see it. This is the end of the game. I don't remember at this point if the Merlin concedes or if they die to the ghost. I think they might just die to the ghost though, because we immediately just see this victory screen, and this only tells half the story, which is really funny. This makes it look like, I mean, this is still quite powerful, but this totally undermines so much of what we've done, because we've got those huge Storm Kings on the bench. We don't even get to see what would have been inside Pandora's box, so that one is a little bit unfortunate as well. We've got Pavlov's Pandora's box here on the end screen, but that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys had fun and enjoyed this one. I thought it was still a sweet game to showcase, and Trophy Hunter is still doing this same stuff on the new patch, so nothing new to showcase here, but doesn't matter that it's some old stuff. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.